And our first story, the Electoral Commission has again refuted claims that it is using old biometric voter registration machines for the ongoing registration exercise. Dr. Eric Bosman-Asare, Deputy Chairman for Corporate Services of the EC, in a briefing said it's pure fabrication to speculate that the BVRs were not new when no one tried to authenticate such misleading information with the Commission.
To still clear the air on this, the Commission acquired from Tally DIS 8,000 biometric voter registration kits and another 530 as spares. So in total, 8,530 biometric voter registration kits. As we sit here now, over 90% of the kits are being used for the registration at our registration centers, our district offices, and the rest are being kept as backup in the various districts. In as much as scrutinizing the work of the Commission is important, which as a Commission we appreciate because it's an accountability institution. People should be able to scrutinize and examine the work we do. We urge all Ghanaians, including civil society organizations, to do so with a high level of professionalism and candor. But you can't just sit anywhere and assume that we are not doing the right thing. You need to investigate and make sure you have the accurate information. Any questions about the Electoral Commission using old BVR kits in this registration exercise is overly pedestrian. And it clearly shows that those making allegations either do not know the difference between the old and the new kits or are simply being mischievous. One distinguishing feature of the BVR kits is that the scanners are either green bricks or Kojak. The current registration we are doing, the scanners are either green bricks or Kojak, and these are the scanners we are using. The computers are of different brands, and the batteries are completely different. The current laptops are Dell, while the former BVRs were HP. So these are completely different kits. So I even have pictures of the kit for everyone to see. The old kits, the batteries are removable. This one, the batteries are embedded. So you can see pictures of the new kit. They are so different from the old one. So the Commission finds it very, very strange that people will still make those allegations. The Commission is challenging anyone who has evidence that is using any of the old kits in this registration to show us the centers. Since those who are making the allegations, they are saying the centers are about 40%. That means currently in Greater Accra, nationally we are operating in 6,000, no, plus the district office almost 6,900 centers. And 40% should be about almost 3,000, or let's say 2,500. So that means these are things we can easily identify. So those who are saying that the Commission is using some of the old cases should give us the centers and we'll go there and remove those cases. We are presently registering in almost 7,000 centers, and the kits are the newly procured ones. And when you look at it, the kits have been distributed equally in all the regions based on the population or the number of centers in the regions.
Now, contrary to concerns about the exercise from some quarters, Dr. Bosman-Asare said the EC believes the exercise has gone according to plan. He also gave an update on the current numbers registered.
Today happens to be the 18th of the registration. So out of the 16, which happens to be up this last Wednesday, the Commission has registered a total of 7,279,237. 7,297,237. That's 7.2. That's a lot of people. The Greater Accra region leads with 1,524,600. 1,524,600. Followed by the Ashanti region, 1,319,498. Four of the regions constitute almost 60% of the registered voters. And these are the Greater Accra region, the Ashanti region, the Eastern region, and the Central region, almost 58 point something to 59%. Below are the total numbers registered per region. Ahafo, 144,961, constituting 1.6. Ashanti, 1,319,498, constituting 18.1. Bono, 293,284, constituting 4%. Bono East, 261,503, 3.6%. Central, 676,484, 9.3. Eastern, 694,541.
Now, some NDC members in Mensah North constituency in Kumasi are raising concerns about what they see as overlapping centers in the ongoing voters registration exercise. They say some centers known in the past to be in the Tafo-Pankroni constituency have now been cited in Mensah North, whose centers find themselves in Tafo-Pankrono. NDC parliamentary aspirant Hamza Swala is worried that constituents who are unaware of the changes may end up registering in wrong constituencies. He wants swift action for the Electoral Commission to address the challenge.
All new polling stations were created, and for that matter, they have to start working on the day of registration. So my people, or the people in Moshizongo, most of them trooped to Afriku's Barbering Center, which is named, officially gazetted in the books of EC, that place is a polling station for Moshizo in Mensah North.
Mr. Swala says though the EC has promised to resolve the issue, information available suggests otherwise.
We had call from other people that the people of Tafo constituency are claiming that Afrikus belongs to Tafo constituency, but rather not Mensah North constituency. It's something that we don't get it clear. So we came there and we saw that there are 3 polling stations in a row. Polling station 1, which is the Afriku's polling station, is from Moshizongo. And after that, there is Ibadia. That one is a polling station created for Tafo constituency. And in that same premises, there's another polling station called the Unity International. That one too is for Mensah North constituency. So it's 3 polling stations. First one is for Mensah North constituency. Second one is for Tafo constituency. And the third one too is for Mensah North constituency. So we had issues on that. We called on the EC boss that's opening. We talked to him and he said he will resolve it. That's fine with us. So everything went off yesterday. Today we had a call again from the Aru telling us that his boss has told him not to start work here, but he should move to Unity International to start working. The gazetted name, Afriku's Barbering Center, which is captured in the book of EC, that place will be given to the people of Tafo constituency. But brother, looking at this thing, it's not done anywhere. The people in this area are all crying out that it cannot be done, and they cannot just take it just like that.
The NDC parliamentary aspirant says he has had to calm nerves of agitated youth to allow the law to take its course.
Most people were here this morning fighting and crying out to the good people. Yesterday we started late with the same issue. The EC boss of Tafo came here telling us that we should move to that end, whilst they will bring the polling station of Tafo to Afrikus. Meanwhile, Afrikus is here in Moshizongo. It cannot be given to Tafo.
Let's go to the Bono East region, where Anas Sabit is reporting that there are concerns about the process being slow. He joins us live. Anas, what's the update?
Daniel, in fact, it's the final day for the third phase of the exercise here in the Techiman's constituency. And unlike the early days where we have a lot of people joining the queue to be able to register, the last 2 days, yesterday and today, the exercise has been extremely slow with few registrants coming out to register. The excuses the people here, the registration officers are giving us is that they are of the view that there's a likelihood that almost all the people in these areas have already registered, and that is why they are having the slowest pace in terms of the people coming into register. As at midday, 12 p.m. today, this particular registration center, which is the Jacko Junior High School, has only 37 people coming to register, with the queues almost empty. The officers are only sitting there waiting for 1 or 2 people who will be coming in to vote. So they have reviewed that the people have already registered, and that is why this exercise is extremely slow from this particular end.
Right. Do you have a fair idea what population has registered so far?
In fact, taking this particular registration center into perspective, we have from the first day to date, have registered about 800 people so far, according to the returning officer here. But this is one of the most densely populated areas in the Teshman South constituency. So at least we're expecting a lot of people to be coming to vote. From my understanding also, there are others who might have gone to other areas to register from the first 2 phases. Those who are not patient enough to register for the exercise to get to their turn, that will also be one of the contributing factors to why they are reporting low turnout so far as the exercise is concerned during the last 2 weeks.
And thank you very much for those updates. Now, the Greater Accra Regional Security Council is deploying security personnel onto the streets of Accra to enforce the mandatory wearing of face masks. Greater Accra Regional Minister Ishmael Ashite says law enforcers have further been directed to begin prosecution of offenders. President Akufo-Addo, in an executive instrument EI 164, spelled out the punishment regime for offenders, which includes summary conviction for a prison sentence of not less than 4 years and not more than 10 years, or a fine of 12,000 Ghana cedis to 60,000 cedis, or both. Mr. Ashite tells my colleague Elton Brobe excuses will not be tolerated.
There was a directive that was given that people should now be prosecuted for defying the protocol of wearing the nose mask. So anybody who is seen, if the police sees you, they will take you up and then you'll be sent to court and you'll be prosecuted.
Elsewhere, people are insisting that going to shops, supermarkets and other places, without it, you will not be allowed.
Yeah, that shouldn't be the case. So if you don't have it, nobody should allow you to enter any public place.
Beyond it and the fact that Greater Accra appears one of the epic centers, what more is RECSEC doing to ensure that people comply with the directives?
Yes, we are working closely with the police and the military together to make sure that people who are disobeying these basic rules are dealt with. Education also should be part of, and you, the people from the media, can help by educating our members, especially along the coast. When you go to Ododo areas, talk to them so that they comply with these things.
Now, the Greater Accra Regional Minister spoke to JoyNews on the sidelines of a presentation ceremony by the COVID-19 Trust Fund. Some selected health facilities in the Greater Accra and the Volta regions received personal protective equipment worth 10 million Ghana cedis from the fund. Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Sophia Kufo, wants speedy distribution to the facilities identified.
In spite of efforts of the government and other benevolent institutions to adequately equip and protect the dedicated frontline workers in the combat against the pandemic, the Board of Trustees have monitored media reports and seen complaints from numerous health professionals concerning the lack of or inadequate supply of PPEs and other logistics needed for the combat of the disease effectively. This distribution we're doing today is therefore meant to help fill, for the time being, the gap or shortfall in the supply of PPEs and other medical items to frontline workers for the fight, for the noble fight that they are fighting against the coronavirus pandemic. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, having made these distributions, I hereby call on the management of these beneficiary institutions to apply the donated items for the purposes for which they are intended. In particular, The items should not be allowed to languish in storage for inordinate lengths of time because of onerous and cumbersome bureaucratic procedures before they are released to the targeted users and staff who need them so desperately.
It's live on Joy News today. Up next is Business with Daryl Kwao. Stay with us.
Now, handicraft and artifact dealers at the Bolgatanga Craft Village in the Upper East region are calling on government to give them serious consideration in the disbursement of stimulus package meant to support local enterprises in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to them, the closure of borders has affected their businesses as foreign tourists who are their major customers are no longer able to come into the country. Correspondent Albert Sori has more from Bolgatanga.
The Bolgatanga Craft Village is the business center for dealers in handicrafts and artifacts in the Upper East region. Locally made products such as baskets, leather bags, sandals, African fabrics, traditional beads, and musical instruments are always on display for tourists who are the major customers here. However, with the ban on foreign travels due to the coronavirus pandemic, the number of tourists coming to the craft village has drastically reduced as there are no tourists coming from outside the country at all. In a recent interaction with the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, when he paid a visit to the craft village, the Bolgatanga Basket Producers and Exporters Association appealed for government to consider them in the disbursement of the stimulus package meant to support local businesses. Coleman Atubila is secretary of the association.
The minimum I exported was 3 containers in a single year, 40-footer container, and that contains about 60,000 baskets. It was various types of baskets put together. And so a minimum of 3 containers, sometimes 4 containers, or sometimes 3 containers. And then sometimes you have intermittent air shipments. So sometimes you can even export more than 4 containers. But you can imagine that the whole 6 months of the new year, there's no production. There's no one single shipment. That tells you how it has impacted negatively on our businesses. We have employed people to work. My company, for instance, have a payroll of about 14 people. All these 14 people will have to be paid for the period of time that I am not doing business. You think that is sustainable? It's not. So all these people, with time, if we are not able to sustain them, because we don't get any income, any inflow, we have to let them go to sit down. And that is also going to affect the incomes of their families and all that. The government initiated the stimulus package for businesses. Well, as an organization, we're told to tender our applications as a group. And so we did, expecting the government to respond to our needs.
The Deputy CEO of GEPA, Albert Kasim Diwura, assured the craft dealers that his outfit was making efforts to get government support for them.
And we have a full business update at 1 o'clock on the marketplace. Up next, sports.
To some boxing news, and finally, Emmanuel Gameboy Tego has been speaking to Joy Sports. Now, the Accra-born boxer is eager to win a world title for Ghana. There's more details in this report.
Tego spent majority of his career in Ghana before relocating to the United States. He was under the management of Baby Jet Promotions, but accused former manager and other members of his management team, Alex Ntiamwa and Otu Mangola, as the reasons for his poor performances in the past. The 31-year-old claimed moving on to a new management, especially to the U.S., was the right decision. According to him, the world's biggest fights are organized in the States, and it is a platform to market his craft.
US on a Jumano, on our be any muse who drew like boxing, oh, Quanet, I prove one share the word. I'm my call. I'm quite me preparation. Push 1 week to them fight and I like say we are corona no. Ever say BVR, I think say like US is good because normal edit training facility ni normal no a lot watching yeah work on my Ghana. I think say like alcohol so better and me feel say honey na me who difference na just difference kakra wo ho chen ha enu na like say me feel say this time around no my head dey meet me aye wo my Ghana afi Ghana for expect me say like dey na meet me aye wo US because
Tego also stated that his qualities have been underestimated. He claims many Ghanaians want him to prove himself to the world, and he reckoned the opportunity to fight at the United States would let him announce what he's made of to the world.
I say, my dear grow as I'm a phone, the omo can say, go outside na go na yenhwe. I think say time no do me prove actual mo say omo dey share no dey wotimi ye wa no obetimi aye wo US and am no mo baby. I think say it's good say matu me na ya. Say my decide say make wo US a wo hwe so enye say me kokun wo kwa. Like Miami promoter, lead developer, Oshemi international manager, Peter Khan. Omo ye normal fine, omo arrange normal BVR fine, ama me so like meniaji. That was a saying to kwano Osha American. I think say BVR okay this time around.
Tego has fought 31 times in his career, lost 1 and won 15 by way of knockouts. His next opponent is currently unknown, but he could be fighting Ukrainian boxer Denis Berencic.
That's how we'll be wrapping it up for the sports. Remember, we do have some more sports stories for you at 2 p.m. when Sports Today comes your way live here on the JoyNews channel. But my name is Oreko Ampofo, and do remember to always stay safe.